If you're looking for a dom-sub relationship with your... Oh my god, I can't believe we're doing this. Then we might have the exact car for you. Alright, wait. Maybe if you're looking for a car that'll punish you for being a naughty boy... Okay, I can't. Alright. Anyway, talking about the B5S4 today, which probably provides some context on where we were going with that intro. This is awkward. Let's just forget that happened. Anyway, the B5S4. First S4 anyone cared about in the US. Yes, there was the C4. Yes, Audi guys, we acknowledge that it existed. Yes, Ayrton Senna had one. No, we're not talking about it today. So the B5. Well, before we get into the S4, let's talk about Audi in the early 2000s. See, prior to this, Audi had kind of been the weird red-headed stepchild of the German luxury cars in the United States. You bought a BMW as a sports car, a Mercedes as a luxury cruiser, and Audi had kind of just been there in the background, making some boring executive-type cars for boring executive-type people. Well, the B5, it changed all that. This was Audi's first A4 in the States, the first ever, as a matter of fact, and some say the car that saved the brand. Prior to the B5 generation, Audi's line felt diverse, sure, but fragmented. Did they make luxury cars? Did they make rally cars? Who was Audi and what were they doing? Well, the B5 gave them a sense of cohesiveness in their design language and purpose, and was a great looking car to boot. But that wasn't all the A4 brought to the table. See, under the hood of even the most base of base A4s lurked something that would change the US tuning landscape forever. Audi had brought us a factory turbocharged car in an era where nearly everything was naturally aspirated. We could probably make an entire video, and we just might, on the cultural significance of the 1.8T engine, but what you need to know in this one is that Audi employing turbo technology on a base model run-of-the-mill sedan that your mom or your accountant might drive gave them a lot of experience with turbocharging, and that experience translated to what we're talking about here today, the Audi S4. Unlike the mild-mannered front-wheel drive 150-ish horsepower A4 that was basically a Passat in luxury clothing, the S4 was a whole different animal. The changes started at the chassis level, but here's what you really need to know. All-wheel drive, twin turbo, 2 is usually better than 1, 6-speed manual, came in a sedan or a wagon. The car made 247 horsepower out of the box and 258 pound-feet of torque, big ol' brakes to slow everything down, and a whole bunch of cool colors to differentiate the S4 from your mom's A4. Shout out Imola Yellow, gotta be one of the best colors of all time. The interior got cool seats and some miscellaneous upgrades that were shared with higher trim A4s, but see, that's just getting started. The 2.7-liter twin-turbo V6 under the hood of the S4 is the reason why we're here today. This motor was detuned to meet US emission standards, but more than that, the factory didn't really squeeze every drop of juice out of it. Whether you get the European version or the American version, you are around 250 horsepower and 250 foot-pounds, but making more is oh so easy, and the American tuning scene rapidly realized that not only could you crank this thing up and really make some jam, but that Audi's Quattro system could actually handle it and put it down to the ground. And so, the first real super sedan in the US came to fruition. There were other fast sedans, sure, but none that the aftermarket was getting its grubby little hands on and turning into absolute animals like this one. These cars hold a special place in my heart because the first fast, like actually fast car I ever rode in was a B5S4 with upgraded turbos, and little old 16-year-old me needed to change his underwear after that. Nearly 16 years later, those power figures are less impressive, but you can really make these things go, and one of the best ways to do that is with some parts from our website, threepiece.us. Yes, we sell performance parts. Yes, our website is kind of broken at the time of filming this video. Yes, we're fixing it. We're building a cool new one. You're gonna love it. Anyway, here's a little guide on what to do with your B5 S4. First up is maintenance, but I'm gonna push that down the line a little bit and talk about that later because these cars have some real issues and it's a bit of a broader section. So, ECU tuning. This is basically free horsepower per dollar. For 500 American buckaroos, APR, Unitronic, 034 integrated engineering, whoever, there's a ton of tuners for these things, will take your B5 from around 250 horsepower to around 320, and from 250 foot-pounds all the way to nearly 400, 382 to be exact. Next, you need to upgrade your diverter valves to keep them from leaking. The factory units are plastic and they suck. There's an Audi option and an aftermarket option, both work, but the aftermarket ones make a cool psh noise. Then fit up a downpipe. For the purpose of this video and not not having the EPA come to my house and unalive my dog, wait a minute, they're the EPA, not the ATF, we might be good. I would recommend a catted one, but if you do decide to go catless on your race-only vehicle, you're going to pick up even more power, around 25 to 40 at all 4 tires, depending on which you go with. You might as well pair this with a catback at the same time while you're in there, or my favorite exhaust, a straight pipe made for $8 out of a Home Depot fence post. Your call, really. Probably buy the exhaust. Borla makes a nice one, and wouldn't you know it, we just happen to sell it on our website, and we're going to link it down below in the description. Crazy coincidence. Next up here, another maintenance item because it's Audi, but it also happens to kind of be a performance part, the throttle body boot. These things like to vaporize and turn into dust at higher boost levels. Go ahead and replace it before it causes you to do a surprise turbo replacement. So at this point, you're making in the mid to low 300s for horsepower and the mid to low 400s for torque, and you've got a choice here. Finish things off with a few odds and ends, an intake, upgraded intercooler, and call it a day, or really get into making that 2.7 liter V6 scream. We'd probably pick the latter, and I think you would too, so you need some turb skis. There are 034 OEM Plus's setup that makes a little over 400 at the tire, to TTE's 1200s, which can make big shock 1200 at all 4 wheels. The depth of your pockets determines how far to go, but at this point we're in the territory where you really ought to be talking to your tuner and figuring out what your goals are and how to get there. The OEM Plus setup is easy, the TTE 1200s less so. Now that we've covered the fun stuff, let's cover the less fun stuff. The 2.7 TT is a notorious engine, and not in a good way. Sure, it makes a lot of power, but there's a reason that these things are like $5,000 on OfferUp, because they like to explode in 100 different ways that cost you thousands of dollars of your hard-earned cash. And here's just some of them. Turbo failure. Yes, they fail. You can suck in a throttle body boot. You can have bypass valves leak. Your turbos can just leave the chat because you bought a 20-year-old high-mileage Audi. Lots of reasons. Depending on how severe your turbo failure is, a little seal failure is going to be different from your compressor wheel turning into powder and shooting into the motor. This could cost you a few $1,000 or an entirely new motor, depending on how bad it is. Transmission, depending on how high the power level is and how bad the previous driver was, you can have issues with the synchros. This means a transmission rebuild. This costs money. This may come as a shock to you. Boost leaks. This is on any turbo car, but these have a lot of silicone hoses that can and will leak over time, and that means tracking down issues. The older the car, the worse condition, the more leaks there will be. General neglect. This is less of a specific issue, more of a broad one, but these cars fit into a very attractive price point where every 18-year-old with a summer job will see it and go, Audi, turbo, all-wheel drive, fast, and just go buy one off Marketplace. They'll do absolutely zero maintenance, short of maybe an oil change, drive it for 5,000 miles until a light comes on the dash, and then pass it on to the next guy. This cycle will repeat until you find yourself being the next guy standing in someone's driveway with 5,000 American dollars in hand, ready to make a mistake that will cause you utter financial ruin, and this is the real issue. See, back in my GTO days, shout out OGs that have followed us for a while, there was a saying on the forums, FPFQ, falling prices, falling quality. The lower the price of a car gets, the lower the quality of owner, not like as a human being, but like in terms of how they drive and maintain the car. The 13th owner who is addicted to Mango Jewel Pods, RIP Mango Jewel Pods, and blasts Xavier Wolf out of the blown Bose speakers, who bought the car for $4,000, will not treat it like the businessman who bought it as a weekend toy back in 2002. The 2.7 TT is very sensitive to a lack of maintenance, and a lot of these cars suffer from it. Try to find the cleanest one you can when you buy it, and you'll have less issues. Spend 10 grand up front rather than 4 grand up front. So in the words of Motor Trend, the B5 S4 requires a simple approach to maintenance. Just spend all of your time and money on it, and you'll be fine, and that's really the case. The car doesn't need anything particularly special, but you do need to address the issues I mentioned, as well as just standard maintenance. Oil changes, filter changes, spark plugs, coil packs, timing belt, water pump, all that good stuff. You're also going to be doing this in an engine bay that is more cramped than shack in a Fiat, so good luck with that. And despite the car being older than most of our viewers, you're still going to be paying Audi tax, meaning that water pump that should be $87 will be $870. So to answer what you're here for, well, should you buy a B5 S4? In my opinion, unless you're a die-hard Audi fan, probably not. This is our first no or probably not in the why you should buy series, so shout out B5 S4 for being a f***ing dumpster fire. There's power to be made here, and it's a legendary car, but for what it's going to cost you to get where you want to be, and for the people who are watching our why you should buy videos, you can just buy a bone stock Evo for similar money with less drama. If you're willing to put up with this car's unique temperament, then it might be for you, but for most of y'all out there, go get that Evo. They're like 15 grand now. Let me know what car I should talk about in the next one. We're trying to put out a video every single day for you guys. We've got some ideas, but the more you tell me to do a car, the more likely we are to do it. Thank you so much for watching. Please hit the like button, please hit the subscribe button, and I will certainly see you in the next one.